Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. Your host, Sal Internado, here with a recap of the Army's Boston College 27-24 loss. First, let's get to our sponsor, Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a company run by Joe Ross, a former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, former Army officer. He's also been a guest on this podcast, of course. He's in the archives, his interview. Man, I thought I had a really good interview this week with Trent Steelman, former Army quarterback Trent Steelman. You can find that on the YouTube channel. You can find that on our audio platforms too, Spotify, Apple. I think we're on Google. Who knows where else we're on the audio platforms, but that's a good interview. Check out our website for the game coverage of the Boston College loss. Seth Mendelson has the game story. I'm finishing off a good, bad, and ugly. Story that will be up there once we get off the podcast. We have a bunch of photos by Ed Diller and Lynn Fern, who braved the elements. A very rainy day at Michie Stadium yesterday, and a very disappointing loss for the Black Knights. We have Seth Mendelson here at Black Knight Nation, and we have Brendan in Jersey joining us. And man, you watch the first half of this game, guys, and you see how Army's offense didn't do basically anything. They had 3 first downs, I believe, Seth. And you're thinking, okay, if they don't come out early in the second half and do something, this game could be pretty much done. Yeah, both teams were fighting through some rainy conditions. It was the first half; it was coming down pretty darn good out there. Second half, I was kind of a field level for the fourth quarter. It wasn't as bad, but they came out with a spark, and Zach Mandel with a spark on that kickoff return, and they eventually took the lead, 24-20, and you thought, okay, they stop them on fourth down, they stop Castellanos on fourth down, they get the ball back, and they need a couple first downs here, and you might be able to seal off the game. And you think they scored a touchdown that wasn't a touchdown because of this game was all over the place. I mean, just all over the place. And then when you sit down and you think about it, and now we've had time to digest it a little bit, and you think about Coach Monken's press conference and how he said about the mental eras, the coaching eras, man, to be in a game against Boston College, who is they're a middle. Seth, what is Boston College, like a mid-level ACC team?
They could be right. I mean, I think they're 3-3 now. They could be 6 or 7-3 in 4 weeks. They have a relatively easy schedule coming up. They lost to Florida State by 2 points. They beat Holy Cross by 2 points or 3 points. But they have Georgia Tech coming up. They have Syracuse, which showed nothing yesterday. I had to get my Syracuse comment in, and they have somebody else who's not very good either. I don't know. Brendan, you know who that is? But
not off the top of my head.
So they could be 6-3 or even 7-3, which makes them a bowl team, and they're not so bad.
What I was trying to get at is Army probably had maybe a C or C minus game against Boston College and almost pulled out a win. I mean, they almost pulled out a win with an average game at best for them. Yeah. I mean, the second half was better offensively, but there's still just too many. There's just too many mistakes, right? They're not playing Army football, right? They're not playing Army football, but yet they're in a game to the very end, into the final minute with a Power 5 school that's has had its moments this year so far. Has played some pretty good football at times, and I guess the search for consistency continues for Army 5 games into the season. I don't know what you guys think.
Brendan, want to go?
Yeah. So I've been an Army football fan for 24 years now. Yesterday was literally 24 years since my first ever attended game at Michie Stadium, and the losses that hurt the most are the losses where you feel that Army was the better team. And I genuinely believe that over the balance of this season, Army will prove to be the better team than Boston College. And I think the evidence in the short term is the fact that sort of what happened when Army played at Syracuse a couple weeks ago. Syracuse had a very slow first half, but in the second half, they came alive and put Army in their place. And Army very nearly did that to Boston College. So very disappointing. At halftime, Coach Monken told CBS Sports that he was embarrassed, and I've tried to like come down off that mountain a little bit, because the team ultimately, the team mostly did their job in the end, and it really kind of came down to a couple of freakish back-to-back plays that really cost them. But just a weird and wild affair yesterday.
It was a strange game. It was a strange game. I don't know. And you talked to like, hey, Army got back Tyrell Robinson yesterday, right? And Tyrell Robinson was a pretty focal point in the offense. He had, a 31-yard catch, which I might add, I called the wheel route from the press box on that play.
You did.
Yeah, that should have been a touchdown, probably. That should have been a touchdown if the timing is right and everybody's on the same page. He comes back, he gives them a kind of a shot in the arm in the offense that they certainly needed. They didn't have Isaiah Austin yesterday. I think he's got an ankle injury. They don't have Ijon Marshall right now. He's got an ankle injury from that tackle in Syracuse. So they need a boost. And Robinson gave him that boost. And you're thinking, okay, they're going to find a way here. And it just, man, I don't know. It's just like, you write some stuff, you watch the replay of the game a little bit, and you're like, yeah. They're 2-3. They could be 4-1, but you are what your record says you are according to the football people. So, and then we know this is a tough schedule right now. Mm-hmm. And they're underdogs now Saturday at home against Troy. They're 4-point underdogs against Troy, who's 4-2. Will not be an easy game. Probably will be a similar game to this Boston College game. Probably will be a pretty close, maybe a lower scoring game like last year. Who knows? But they got to change things. So they got to get a win. They got to get a win. That, I don't want to talk about bowl projections we haven't even hit the middle of the season. I don't want to talk about that. No. I want to talk about this team getting to 500. I want to talk about this team feeling good about itself, so.
Yeah, my take on the game is the same thing what Brendan just said. I know Sal feels the same way. The first half was weird. The whole game was weird. The first half was really weird. The weather was terrible. A lot of rain. It was blowing, the rain was blowing in sideways at some points. The wind wasn't that much of a factor, but there was some of it. And Army looked as they looked in the second half against Syracuse. It looked like a team that wasn't motivated. They didn't know they were missing the key plays. They had a chance for a touchdown. They settled for a field goal in the first half. In the second half, I'm happy to say they came out as a different team. They held BC to one touchdown and they scored, I guess it was 3 to take that lead with 11 minutes left. Everything was clicking, and then they stopped this great quarterback. At least yesterday he was a great quarterback. He was a Heisman Trophy winner yesterday.
Whoa.
Just yesterday, not in general, just yesterday. But they stopped him and they got the ball back. And we had that, that illegal forward pass, which, I understand why he tried it. I wish he didn't, because he had the first down. We all know that. We agree that it was the right call by the referees, and it was the right call was made. And then, of course, Monken chose to punt it afterwards. And as he told us in the press conference, he instructed the punter a rugby-style kick, hoping the ball would roll down the field instead of a traditional punt that is higher and farther and whatnot. And we all know what happened there. Was it a 14-yard punt? Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah. 14-yard punt. They got the ball on the 38-yard line, and 4.5 minutes later, or whatever it was, they scored the winning touchdown. It was a very strange game, and Army should have won it. And they had their chances to win this game from the get-go, and they didn't. And it's disappointing. And we're 2-3 going into 2 very tough games.
Yeah, we had a chance, Seth and I, to talk briefly to Jeff Monken after the press conference, right? And it's such a game of like inches, even to a point of analytics. And what do? Do you go for it? It's what was the play where Boston College, he could have pushed Boston College back? I think it was before the whole crazy 12 men on the field thing, right? He could have moved Boston College to a 3rd and 8 on an illegal shift or a penalty, and they decided to decline it and make it a 4th and 3. And analytics says it's easier to stop a team on a 4th and 3 than them to have 2 shots from 3rd and 8, or the play when Daly, the illegal forward pass, right? I think it put him at a 4th and 4, I believe. And so that, 4th and 3 is a go, but 4th and 4 may not be a go during analytics. And to me, I asked them about this, about sometimes should the numbers, the analytics, what they say, sometimes it's just feel, right? You've been coaching for so long, and sometimes it's just feel. And I asked him, has he ever gone against analytics? And he says, yes, he has gone against analytics, so, but this time analytics did not work. Or maybe not that they didn't work, but they didn't give different feedback, so to speak. I don't know. I'm not a big analytics guy, me personally, but I'm not a football coach. That's not my profession.
I don't have a problem with him punting the ball on a 4th and 4 because you're giving BC the ball.
Yeah,
if he doesn't. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is kick the ball. Why don't you kick the ball away? Why are we trying a rugby style kick? I know it worked in the first half. Okay, I don't know if he did it on purpose or not. I guess maybe he did. It worked in the first half. The ball rolled down to about the 10. It was great, but just kick the ball away. That's the key. And and then you count on your defense to stop these guys from getting 80 yards or 75 or 85 yards with 5 minutes left in the game. That's what I don't understand. And that's what goes on. That's the game, and that's why Army lost and BC won.
It's so close. I mean, it's so close. The margin for error is so close. The analytics choices are so close, and it's a play here or play there. It's a stop there, or it's a decision here, a decision there. It's a quarterback's second effort or making a cut there. I don't know, Brendan. I mean, I don't know how much more we want to really.
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's like yesterday sucks, but I'm also not really panicking in the biggest scheme of things. Like I don't want anybody fired. I don't want anybody benched per se. I've always believed in this offensive change, and I continue to believe in it. I think the biggest problem is that the issue with the offense is that they basically they can't ever get conservative with it. At least not in the games that they've been playing so far. I mean, I'm sure against Massachusetts they could probably run it, 67 times and still win the game. But when you're fighting for your life like they have been the past couple of games, we've seen it's like you can't ever take your foot off the pedal. And Thatcher had Boston College absolutely sideways in the second half, which makes that pitch on 3rd and 2 so frustrating. Because on the one hand, a touchdown there probably is a kill shot, going up 2 scores with 5 minutes left. But they didn't really need it there. I mean, if they, even if they had just possessed the ball another 2 minutes and maybe, maybe like try for a field goal, whatever. I felt like the fact that the defense gave the offense the ball back, up 1 score, up more than a field goal with 5 minutes left, essentially at home. I felt like the defense did their job yesterday, and it was ultimately those 2 mind-boggling plays that let them down in the end. I mean, there were some other coaching decisions that happened that are tough to explain that definitely had an impact, and certainly, if
Would you like to go into those coaching decisions?
Well, I mean, if they get one first down in the first quarter, maybe we're not even talking about any of this, butterfly effect and all that. I mean, who knows? But
here we go. We got a comment from a person watching right now. Army's defense has been giving up big plays at crucial points all season. Also, the drop pass by the tight end on the goal line was a killer. Well, yeah, that was a killer a little bit, but that wasn't really they weren't on the same page, quarterback and wide tight end, Josh Lingenfelter. I don't really blame that on Lingenfelter to a point. The ball's wet, I guess, right? It's a wet ball.
A little bit behind him. It was a little bit behind him.
It wasn't. He was wide open, and maybe it was. Now, maybe you guys could have a better opinion of this than I could, but maybe it wasn't thrown on time, in my opinion. It just the ball wasn't thrown on time, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't want to, I can't play quarterback, so I don't want to get on the kid too much. But short passes, flat routes, they've been an issue for Bryson thus far this season. He really needs to work on leading guys better.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think on that play also, if I remember, the play's to Lingenfelter, right? The play's to Lingenfelter. But David Crossan's coming across the end zone open too. So, right. I mean, for some reason, if the timing's off a little bit, there was another option. I don't know, but
I don't think he was looking at that option. I think he was going
no. And
the pass was a little behind him. It was wet. It was a touchdown if he throws it correctly. Kid catches it, obviously. And that would have been, it would have been 4 more points. I think we settled for 3 there, right? Yeah, we settled for 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I look at I think Bryson's numbers were something like 10 for 13, over 100 yards passing,
5 yards,
99 yards rushing, blood, sweat, and tears, playing his tail off as usual, right? I mean, playing really hard, and I mean, I guess that's really. I mean, sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes things don't work out, and like you were saying, Brendan, that 3rd and 2 play, and I mentioned it when we were offline, so I might as well just mention it now and get it out there. I mean, you're 3rd and 2, you're at midfield. The triple option play there. I mean, just because I guess when the triple option play, the quarterback's going to have in his head, hey, a pitch could be involved in this play, so if it's there, I'm going to get rid of it. And if that's maybe not in the equation, who knows? There's a lot of, when we were talking about this, Seth, when we walked out of the press conferences, and I guess we were on the bus going up to our cars and stuff, this game has a lot of what ifs. I mean, you can run down the line of what ifs. Maybe you may need another sheet of paper for the what ifs in this game.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just so many, and most of the time, the what ifs didn't really go Army's favor. They didn't really go Army's favor in this game. So, they did show a lot of fight coming back, in the second half. They did get, we did mention, Tyrell Robinson's return, and, the thing with Bryson Daly, right? That touchdown pass to Tyson Riley was in a tight window.
That was a great pass.
Yeah, that was really good.
I really like that.
To me, I know you want to. This offense, this shotgun offense, is all about movement and motion and all this stuff, and you're running Lingenfelter from the right side to the left side on that pass play. But I kind of like that Riley play where you just you're pretty much maybe a little closer to the goal line than the Lingenfelter play, but get it out, snap it, get it out there, just and have the receiver make a play on a ball that he can catch. I mean, I don't know. I just there's been some really good things in this offense, and then there's things where the first play of the game, that end around the Noah Short, BC snuffed it out, -5 yards. You're behind. You're not on schedule after that. And then Tyrell Robinson enters the game and gets a 7-yard run on second down, and then you got a 3rd and 8 or whatever it was. And I don't know. I was talking to Seth in the press box. I'm like, we know. We'll get his. Thanks for the comment. Appreciate it. If you guys are watching right now, send more in. We'll read them and we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll get into that real quick. But my thing is, Tyrell, I'm talking too much, guys. I got a lot of things to say, I guess. But I would have had Tyrell Robinson start the game. I would have given him a first carry and see what happens. I mean, that's just me. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm not a coach. I'm just a covered Army for 15 or so years. So
I'm sure they had their reasons for that. I don't think that made the difference between winning and losing. What made the difference between winning and losing was some weird plays. Give Monken credit. He blamed it right away. He got up there. He says, "I'm disappointed. The players didn't play well, and we didn't coach well." Especially in the first half. He said they made some mistakes in the second half too. But he said we did not coach well. He said it a couple of times. He said it during the press conference, and he said it right after the press conference. And you got to give the guy credit for that because he recognized it. He didn't blame everything on the players. He could have. And he took the collective blame. As the head coach, he took the collective blame. So I got to give him credit for that. But it's true. The players did not play well in the first half at all. They missed assignments. They missed. They didn't get the ball in the end zone when they should have. And the second half, we had a couple of, not too many. They played much better, but that penalty hurt us. It hurt us a lot and hurt Army a lot. So hopefully they learn from this. Let's call a spade here. Bryson's only starting his fifth game. He's a junior starting his fifth game, and he's a kid. He's 20 years old or so, I guess, 20, 21. He's gonna make mistakes. He's 3 years out of high school. He's gonna make mistakes, and this is one of them. It cost West Point the victory, or potentially cost West Point.
I'm not pointing.
Yeah, I know you're not.
Blame. I'm not gonna do that. So
I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not panicking in the big picture. I think one day, fairly soon this season, like they're gonna put together, I mean, the offense. I think one of these days the offense is gonna fire on all cylinders, and they're gonna really blow the doors off of somebody. Hopefully against Air Force, that'd be nice. and or Navy, or just this week. But to me, kind of like the most concerning thing, and this was an issue I saw last year. One of the hallmarks of the really quality Monken teams was just being a 60-minute team, and I can't remember. I mean, outside of the rock fight of Navy last year where they just kept clawing until the end and they had the game won. I can't remember the last time they had a full 60-minute effort from all three phases of the game. And that used to be really I mean, I don't know. I mean, even thinking back to 52-3 against San Jose State, where they just never took their foot off the gas in any phase. I just can't remember I mean, I guess other than Delaware State this year, but I mean, Delaware State's practically a Division II team, so
they are a Division II team, aren't they?
No, they're FCS.
They're FCS, but they have Division II teams.
Right. They lost to a Division II team, right?
Yeah. That to me is concerning because.
Good point.
Because we all agree that X's and O's are an important factor, but at the same time, it's I've in the Bobby Ross era, I saw Army running an offense no more complex than what my high school was running, pro style, pro set, and they went toe to toe with Texas A&M and Iowa State. So there's more to the game than X's and O's, even though we all acknowledge that X's and O's are important. It's and sometimes it's just about competing for all 60 minutes. And I think if we see them do that this season, it's going to be quite impressive.
Brendan, I'm going to counter your comment. I am beginning to panic. We got two tough games coming up here. Troy's a decent team. They're 4-2. We know the deal with LSU. The Massachusetts Holy Cross games. Holy Cross is not that bad. Massachusetts seems to be pretty awful. They're 1-6 or 1-7. They won their first game. Honestly, Air Force is good. They're 5-0, and granted, they haven't played a tough team yet in their conference, but they've done everything they're supposed to do so far. Navy, beat North Texas yesterday, and then Coastal. I'm, and Sal doesn't want me to do this, but you want to get to 500. I don't, if we don't beat Troy, and I think we have a chance to beat Troy. I do. I think that they're gonna come out. It's a home game. They're gonna come out highly spirited, and hopefully play their best game of the year. But you don't beat Troy, I don't know how you're gonna get to 500.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, when I say I'm not panicking, like I never expected this season to be the season, especially transitioning in a new offense and a new quarterback and all that. And they still have the Service Academy games ahead of them, which I ultimately care about more than a bowl game. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that I want to bring up the defense comment, but I want to also bring up this. I mean, you look at the schedule, right? And yeah, they were coming off a bye week after the Syracuse game. But I mean, Syracuse game was there. Pretty physical game. Boston College game was there. Pretty physical game. Troy last year was just a slugfest, 10-9. I mean, there are these teams that they're facing are not like these teams that want to put up 70 on the scoreboard, right? They're pretty physical teams, and it's going to test Army's depth. We already know they have some guys injured on offense. Some guys on defense were banged up. I think I don't want to. It looked like Leo Lone was a little banged up during this game. It looked like he got banged up a little in this game. They're down a couple linebackers. They were down Spencer Jones already. They're missing some guys, and so guys have to step up. It's going to test their depth, no doubt. Once they get to LSU, and once they play at LSU, that's going to be another one. So it's going to be. Not only is this a tough schedule, like for opponents and caliber opponents, these teams that they're facing are, the 3 Power 5 schools in between, Troy. They're pretty good and they're pretty physical, and they're, it's going to be. It's really up to Army. They play up to the level that they need to play to be competitive and have a chance. So, I don't know. The defensive side, I was bringing up that comment again on the big plays. I just, this game, right, Seth, it's played in the rain. BC had 70 yards passing, right? Something along those lines. They're not going to really throw the ball too much. And I don't think that really, I mean, they threw the ball downfield once where Jabari Moore made a nice play to break up a pass. That's my memory of them throwing the ball downfield.
No, and also the interception.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. So they threw the ball maybe downfield twice. I don't know. They're going to run with the quarterback. They're going to run with Garwo. I mean, I guess Army was kind of crowding the line of scrimmage to a point, but then these big runs, how many, more than I do because I don't really look at the box scores. BC had over 280 yards rushing. Am I right with that?
Yeah, the two guys, the quarterback and the running back. The quarterback had, I think, 152 or 160, somewhere around there, and the running back had 120, 130.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to say it was like 300 altogether. Honestly,
yeah. Hey, listen, that quarterback, that 17-yard run with 2 minutes left, he went down to the 3-yard line. That was a huge play. We haven't discussed that yet, but the offensive line opened a big hole for him, and he took off, and he got snagged at the 3-yard line. We haven't discussed this yet, but would have been better if he just scored then, and Army would have had 2 minutes left in the game to get 3 points to tie it.
Well, do you think he went down? Because I don't think he wanted to score there. I think he knew the clock. I think he knew the situation. I don't think he wanted.
He was tackled. I don't know if he.
Oh, yeah. I think Q Hammonds might have chased him down or something like that.
I don't know whether he was trying to go down, but then they didn't score for 3 more plays, and Army used up its 2 remaining timeouts. They used one early in the third quarter, and then we got the ball back. Army got the ball back with 25 seconds left. There's not much you can do.
I think Monken said they used the one of the timeouts because of substitutions, something or other, and
they had a problem in the third quarter. Yeah.
Basically wasted a timeout. And sometimes, those will come back to haunt you a little bit. And I asked Coach Monkey at the press conference, was there any thought just letting them score, even on first down, first and goal, just letting them score so you have more time on the clock? They were on the 3-yard line for first down, then got to the 1 on second down. I mean, on second down 1, you got to stop them 3 straight times from the 1. I mean,
and what did he say? What did he say? Why didn't he? He said he thought about it, but
you tell me.
Analytics.
The
analytics. He's trying to stop him.
It's all based on time left.
No, what do I know about analytics?
But they got the ball back with like 25 seconds.
25 seconds they got the ball back with, yeah.
Or you could have got the ball back with like a minute and change left.
Look what happened with Georgia Tech in Miami yesterday. Georgia Tech got the ball back on a fumble with no time left, and they scored with 2 seconds left to win the game and beat Miami. So anything can happen if you get some time.
I will say that decision from Mario Cristobal to never ever take a kneel down. Apparently, that's part of his philosophy, which cost them a game yesterday. That's more embarrassing than anything that Army did yesterday.
I totally agree. That was a very embarrassing.
But Sal, you mentioned the substitution issues. I mean, when we talk about Army getting outcoached in this game, that was really the thing, because BC was clearly taking advantage. If Army was trying to sub too late, you just the rules are the rules. You've known those rules this season pretty well. BC was taking advantage.
When did that happen? When they actually got a 5-yard penalty? Sal, were you there with me? Or are you downstairs already?
I was downstairs, but that happened on the last drive where they got a 5-yard penalty.
The drive where they scored, or the drive where they had the penalty?
I could have sworn that happened on their last drive. I could.
Yeah, I think you're right. But not the 25-second drive. You mean the one before that?
I think the 25-second drive.
No.
I'll have to go back and look. I'll go back and look. But real quick, Brendan, please go into more about what you're talking about with substitutions, if you could, a little bit more, because I think that's a big part of this. And, I want, before you do, guys, if you're watching this, check out our YouTube channel. I went to the Boston College press conference with Jeff Hafley, and if I was a little late, about 4 minutes late to it, but if you listen to that podcast, you'll be educated about the sport of football a little bit, and how coaches, the mindset of coaches, and how they think, and what they think about the substitution and stuff, and what plays are run against them, how much they put into. Sometimes they're going to see a play for the first time that Army might not have never ran yet. So how do they react to that? It's pretty good how he went into the local media. I popped in there. And explained a few things. So check that out. Now, I'm sorry for interrupting your flow, Brendan, but talk a little bit about this Morris's substitution, because I had somebody else mention it to me today too. And the more I think about it, the more it makes a lot of sense that the teams are now aware that Army's subbing late, and they're going to use that against Army almost, right?
Yeah. And I don't remember if it was put in this season or last season, but it's a fairly recent rule where if you make a substitution on offense, then the defense has to be allowed to make a like-for-like substitution if they choose. And the gamesmanship that comes with this is that if you make a sub on offense, the defense can just pull 3 guys off the field and send on 3 more, regardless of whether they actually want to do it. But if it runs out the play clock, it runs out the play clock, and that becomes a false start for the offense. Or a procedure penalty, whatever it is, it's 5 yards. And BC was taking full advantage of that. Now there was one instance where Army caught BC with 12 men on the field. Ultimately, it didn't matter. Because
it was on the touchdown throw. It was on the touchdown throw.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was a first down or a touchdown throw, but it was in the red zone. And frankly, I think, it's to me, it's one thing, if it's first down and it's sort of like a new series for the offense effectively, but to me, Army should be taking advantage of personnel matchups by not subbing, and therefore not allowing the defense to sub. I mean, and I'm sure Thatcher's into that. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that the coaches don't know or are not studying up on. We're just kind of we're discussing this for the fans, but yeah.
Last week, I think it was the Notre Dame game, the game they won. Or maybe they lost to Ohio State. I don't know. One of the games a couple weeks ago, the same thing happened, and the announcers said that the offensive team substituted with less than 15 seconds left on the play clock, and the defensive team took its time, and that referee won't move until he's given instructions by the head ref. And they end up getting the same thing that happened to them. And the announcers said, you can't, if you want to avoid that, you have to sub before there's 15 seconds left on the play clock because they can drag it out. And that's a lot of time. I think what's the play clock now? 30 seconds in college. So you have 15 seconds to sub. Those last 15 seconds, this can happen all the time. They take their time. They almost kind of like jog off at a slow pace. And it's the offensive. I mean, they may have to change that rule somewhere because you're blaming the offense. They're ready to go and they can't go because the referee is standing between the center and the quarterback. Don't let them make it. I think last week they called a timeout. I think Notre Dame called a timeout to avoid the 5 second, the penalty. And
wasn't the thing with Notre Dame? They had the last 2 plays of the game. They only had 10 guys on the field. I don't
think it was that game. It might have been a different game. I think Notre Dame won this game.
That delay a game penalty was on the final drive for Army. It was on the play before the last pass to Casey Reynolds. I looked it up. And the one where Casey Reynolds, they knocked the ball from Casey Reynolds and the game was basically over. But they weren't. It was a 3rd and 15. Reynolds didn't get the first down. I mean, the clock was going. It was probably under 10 seconds at that point. So, adding the 5 yards when you're trying to get into field goal range, whatever, you're trying to move the ball down the field certainly didn't help. And I don't know if that's something you want to do when you're in a 1 minute drill. When you're a 1 minute drill, like you said, Brendan, you want to keep the guys on the field that, you want to keep your personnel on the field so they can't do that. So they can't put you in a situation where you're not. But we're podcasting. We're not on the sidelines. So, it's good point, Seth, bringing that. I'm glad you brought up the end of the game because as far as letting them in or not letting them score, because I completely, like I said, there's so many things from this Boston College game that happened or didn't happen. And you're like, man, I wrote that good, bad, and ugly story right now, right? I got one good for Army. I got Tyrell Robinson's return. That's all I got. And I got like all the stuff that we're talking about and the punting, the illegal forward pass, the 12 men on the field.
We did have the good kickoff return. We did have the interception.
Yes, Zach Mundell. Yes.
You know what, Seth? I will add, just because you mentioned that, I haven't posted the story yet on the website. I will add Zach Mundell's. The good catch by the Army Sports Information staff say that's the longest kick return in the Monken era, 55 yards. Kickoff return. Yeah, longest kickoff return. And
doesn't that sound shockingly low? 55 yards in 10 years?
No, the only thing is a lot of times they're fair catching anyway.
That's true. They're kicking it out.
They're fair catching probably 90% of the time.
You're right.
I remember when, you have Ishawn Marshall back there. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if Kel Walker returned kicks or not. I thought he did, and it was always like a fair catch. It was always, even if it looked like you had a return, nope, you're not going to take any chances. Got to get the ball on the 25. So.
That rule changed 2 years ago. The fair catch, get the ball on the 25. So
I don't know. We'll see.
Sal, I'll also say shouts to Quinn Moretsky for making all of his kicks, including a field goal in heavy rain.
Yeah,
especially when the BC guy missed one.
Good point. Yeah, 7 for 8 now, I think, for Quinn on the season. I'm pretty sure that was his 7th field goal. That's why I was thinking about that whole 12 men on the field. We're going for it. We're kicking, then we're going for it again. What if Army stayed on the field? There was no guarantee that the BC kicker was going to make that field goal. So not only was it a 4-point swing that Coach Monken said, 3 points to 7, it could be 0 points to 7. was there any guarantee he was going to make that in those conditions? I don't know.
How many yards was that? That was about what, 30, about 40-yard field goal? No, they didn't kick it, so we don't know.
The ball was on the. I want to say I could be wrong. I thought they had 4th and 3 from the 17 of Army, so it would have been like a 34, 35 yarder.
Yeah.
Gimme, not necessarily a gimme in those conditions. I don't think.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong, but man, you gotta. If it only played out, if we only could have saw it play out with Army have their 11 on the field ready to go for the field goal. Maybe they block it. Maybe they don't. Maybe he makes it. Maybe he misses it. Who knows? It's funny. I gotta mention this because I work a couple other jobs, and the one job I work is I do an in-school suspension job at a high school, and I had a teacher come in this week. And I had a student in there, and he basically was giving the student options if the student wanted to do the work or not. And he basically said it was a choose your own adventure, right? It's a choose your own adventure. Well, this game, you're wondering, if A happened, what would it's almost like a little bit, maybe I'm wrong in the comparisons here, but almost like a little choose your own adventure. Like what would have happened if A happened, if B happened, if C happened. And like we said, we can go down probably through the alphabet, and options that what would have happened in this game. I don't know if that was a good comparison. I'm just trying to weed this into everyday life. Maybe I don't know what you guys think, but I think we've said a lot of what we thought about this game. I mean,
I'd like to bring up one more thing, which has nothing to do with the game, but
of course,
I realized it was raining out, but I was shocked. The crowd, the announced crowd of 35,000. Obviously, a lot of people did not show because of the conditions. But I was shocked the number of people who left at halftime and did not come back because you can't come back in. And I understand we were up in the press box. It was nice and dry and relatively warm. But my guess is, not including the Corps of Cadets, I would say 3/4 of the fans, at least half, left the game at halftime.
You were being correct, because when I went down there for the fourth quarter, there was a pretty decent crowd. I remember looking up to underneath, I guess, where the press box is. I guess
they all went up there.
where the loge is, and that area is pretty full. To be honest with you, that area is pretty full. So yeah, I know you saw people leave the stadium at halftime. I don't think you saw, if you're saying half of the 30,000, if you're saying 15,000 people left at halftime.
No, there wasn't 35,000 to begin with. They sold 35,000 tickets. My guess is there was probably 23,000, including the Corps.
I think there was more. I think there was more there because honestly, Seth, like even after when I was running from press conferences to press conferences, right? There were more BC fans there than I thought there were there. They weren't just behind like the field goal, the South field goals. There was a decent. Yeah, more people braved the elements than you thought. And I thought I saw somebody's it was on somebody's social media. I don't know if it was a fan or whatever. They panned the whole stadium, and it could have been at the first kickoff of the game. I don't know when they took the video. But the stadium was, I mean, it wasn't a sellout by any means. Were there 35,000 fans there? No. But there were more people braving the elements than I thought.
I was surprised so many people were heading for the exits at halftime. I understand the weather. I get it. It wasn't cold. It was relatively warm.
Well, no, it wasn't. On the field, it was cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was up in the press box, and it's nice and toasty or semi-toasty up there. The windows are open, but for the TV camera.
Yeah, the press box life. It was from hearing from our photographers. It was. The conditions weren't great out there. I mean, it wasn't like 70 degrees and raining. It was in the 60s, but there was a wind too, a little bit of a wind too. So, yeah, you were going up against it a little bit there, but good for the fans that stuck it out. They saw a good ending to a game. I mean, it didn't go Army's way, but I mean, it was a pretty exciting game in the second half. Army made it interesting, and just like we said, just didn't make enough plays to get it done. And now here Troy comes. The Trojans come to Michie Stadium on Saturday. Chance for Army to get to 500 if they could pull out a win, and won't be easy. I haven't really followed Troy's schedule too much. I know they had a pretty convincing win on Saturday.
I I mean, um, I usually look at the Massey composite rating,
Okay.
which is like basically like all the computer ratings that you can get a hold of, or
Yeah.
not just computer ratings, also polls and things like that. And I think Troy was just under Syracuse, so it'll definitely be another tough game.
Yeah.
But I do think I do think Arby's offense will at least score a touchdown against Troy this time, which they could not manage last year, which is part of the whole reason why they've changed the offense. So,
Well,
I'm
you know what?
looking at Troy right now.
Yeah, they beat Georgia State when Georgia State I think was 4-0. I think Georgia State got off to a 4-0 start and they beat them 28-7 at Georgia State. That was a pretty good win. I think Georgia State was coming off a win off Coastal. Coastal's not having a great season this year. First year coach, and Grayson McCall is throwing interceptions, which is something he didn't do his first 3 years. He's having a lot of problems with that. So
I would imagine Grayson McCall wishes he had transferred somewhere.
yeah, he couldn't. Grayson McCall couldn't transfer. I'll just leave it at that. Otherwise, he might be at Liberty. So I'll leave it at that.
Troy lost to Kansas State, was 15th ranked at the time. They got beat pretty bad by 29 points, and they lost to James Madison, which I think is a pretty good team again this year. They're 5-0, so they're not bad.
Yeah, Troy James Madison might be a rematch for the Sun Belt title at the end of the season.
Yeah,
crazy, the Fun Belt.
Fun Belt, baby.
My adopted favorite conference. So the Fun Belt.
I don't think Troy's in the Sun Belt anymore, are they?
They are.
Yeah, they still are.
They are. Seth, you are the king. You're the king of the conferences, man. You know
I
everything.
Right now, I'm looking on CBS Sports. Let me just check this. It looks like
they're in there. They're playing Georgia State. They're playing James Madison. Those are all conference games. Yes, they're playing.
They're in the other division. Okay, they're in the West division. That's why I only had the East division.
They beat Arkansas State.
Yeah, you're right. They're 2-1 in conference.
Yeah. So we'll see which I almost got into a Seth lead to end this podcast saying we'll see which Army team shows up against Troy. We don't know yet. We're still like Brendan, you're saying, we're still waiting for a 60-minute performance from Army so far. So if they can give the fans that, they can bring that to Mikey Stadium on Saturday against Troy. We'll have another pretty competitive game, and we'll see if they could pull through. And I don't think they're going to get. I don't think you're going to get Isaiah Austin back this game. I doubt it. He was on crutches during the game, so I would think that he's probably not going to be available. I could be wrong, and we'll have to see. I think they got to get Daly going earlier in this game. I think they got to get Hayden Reed going earlier in this game. I think forget about like the end of rounds and forget about all the fancy stuff. Get the ball, move the chains. Get Hayden Reed. We didn't talk about this that much. Hayden Reed, when he gets the ball, he's productive. He's a productive back.
Yes.
He didn't get the ball against Syracuse that much in that game. He didn't play that much against Syracuse. I think he got a little banged up. I could be wrong, but I think he got a little banged up.
He was banged up, yeah.
But when Hayden Reed can get the ball, he's physical. He's got a little bit of quick to him. And as we saw that on the sidelines where he caught that unfortunate illegal pass, he's a difference. We didn't see Markel Johnson on Saturday on offense against Boston College. They were rotating again, and Miles Stewart's out hurt. So, I mean, Robinson's coming in at a good time because they're down that Kanye Udo, freshman, saw some early action, ran the ball pretty tough. So, we'll see what the options are for Army. Going to get out of here. Any final thoughts for you guys before we get out?
3:30 start on Saturday. Remember that.
Yeah. Early forecast is 60% chance of rain. I don't know if that's good or bad, but you know what? I just want Army to show up in the first quarter. I think if they do that, they'll win the game.
I will say this: show up offensively in the first quarter because their defense hasn't given up a point in the first 4 games in the first quarter. They did give up a point to Boston College, so they've given up 7 points. Did they kick another?
6.
Yeah, 7 points all season long in the first quarter on defense.
They missed the field, the extra point.
6. Good. There, Seth's always on top of things. Yes, only 6 points in the first quarter for Army's defense. So let's see if the offense can give the defense maybe a lead. Maybe give the defense a lead in the first quarter against Troy. Guys, thanks for watching. Again, check our YouTube channel out. Subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Got a good stuff on there. Please, if I know it's an hour long, but if you have some time, put it on your audio. Put it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Listen to that Trent Steelman podcast. One of the best ones I've ever done. I'll leave it at that. He was pretty open about things during his career, moments in his career, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So, and what he's doing now, he's more of a personal coach now, coaching his kids in flag football. We went through a lot of stuff in an hour. Please check that out. You can check out all the press conference videos. Thanks to Seth, we have Bryson Daly and Q Hammonds up on our YouTube channel. We have Tyrell Robinson and Jeff Munkin. And that little bonus this week, the Boston College coach Jeff Hafley's press conference too. So we really appreciate it. Check out Black Knight Nation for our coverage. Seth doing the game stuff and more, and me doing some, I don't know, my kind of analytics. Not if you're going to go for it on 4th and 3 or if you're going to kick or punt or go for it. I just write my kind of things on there. But thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you soon.
Beat him.
Hi, guys.